Hello everyone, Iris here with a process video for you. It feels like I haven't done one in a long time. This is a layout for Simple Stories using their new Dream Big collection. And I immediately thought of this photo of my daughter dressing up, one of her first outfits. She's completely naked except for a lei and a tutu and a wand. And she's so adorable. So you've seen me here looking at the papers in the collection. I did discard a couple because I didn't like the patterns. And I started off thinking I wanted to use the background that was green that reminded me of the background in the photo we used to have in our old home when she was little. We had green walls in our bedroom. Then you saw me here. I switched over to the pink dotted paper. And to be honest, I'm looking at it right now thinking, why didn't I stick with that one? I really like the contrast it brings. But as I started out and I started cutting some of the papers to line this cut file, which is called GeoGlobe, and it is from the cut shop, I started having some doubts about that really dark magenta pink because it's just not something I'm normally drawn to. But really right here, I love that contrast. And you can see me snipping here with the cutouts from the GeoGlobe, just snipping some of the papers. Some of it I had to be fussy, fussy cut it out to make sure things lined up properly. And then there's others like this that it didn't really matter which way I went. But here I'm going to fast forward so that you can avoid having to watch me cut everything out individually. And here we have a nice pile of stuff. This is where I decide, well, you know what? I can just line the photo, do a little mat with that magenta dot, and that'll bring that contrast and bring focus to the photo. And I went with the minty green background paper with these little asterisks, and really they reminded me of pixie dust, fairy dust, so I really wanted to use that one. This was pretty fun here, just trying to decide which way everything is going to go. I did cut some extra, and sometimes you just end up with extras as you're trying out different things, and here I decided that I needed another one of those magentas because since I'm going to line the photo with that same paper, I wanted to create a visual triangle of that paper. It's the most contrasting paper I have on the layout, so it was important to me to create a visual triangle. Now, here I've been using score tape in an 1/8 inch wide, and it was perfect for this cut file that I cut out. Is just a smidge over 9 inches wide, and this worked really well. I put a few long strips, and then as I was putting individual triangles in, I would go back with some small strips. And this fine line bottle, I have in here Liquitex Matte Medium, which I recently was on the Scrap Gals podcast to talk about. The episode was called Stick It Real Good, and it was number 215. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go check it out. We talk about a lot of different adhesives, all my favorites. This is one of them. It works really well in the fine line bottle. It flows a lot better than that Scotch one, and it's much more economical than the Ranger Matte Medium. Then I propped up the entire cut file on foam. Don't worry, I'm not going to have you watch every single little bit of it because there's a lot of little pieces. And I wanted to prop it up because I left intentionally some empty spaces, and I wanted to put some stuff in the empty spaces. Wanted to give this a little lift, some interest. So you saw that the cut file off camera before I put the foam on. I went ahead and stitched, and it went really well through all the adhesive. I had no problems with the needle gumming up or anything. Now, I have to say, I have a confession. I struggled with this layout, and it was a nightmare to edit this video because I had so much indecision and it was all on camera, and I just had a lot of waffling back and forth, changing things and just barely like trying something and taking it off immediately. So hopefully with the editing, I smoothed out all the bumps on the road, or as many as I could, so that it's not as crazy looking, and you still get value out of this, because sometimes we do struggle. You know, we have I think for me, this color palette and the girliness of it is really out of my comfort zone. And then also there was so many cute icons that I was struggling with, okay, do I use that same one in the puffy sticker or do I use it in the chipboard and so forth? So back to the actual layout. Here, by this point here, I've gotten down and I've put some foam in the back of these pieces that are where they're sticking out from the top of the cut file. But I've chosen the primary items that I want, those chipboards, the little fairies, which is, this is about my daughter dressing up as a fairy, rainbow because she loves rainbows, and these little circle stickers. They are like little colorful dots and they have asterisks on them that echo the asterisks in the background. At this point, I haven't decided yet, but I will decide that they're only going to go in the spaces, the empty spaces, because here we are. Because I felt that contained them better, and instead of using them like enamel dots, I used some of the puffy items on the outside. Now, at this point, I'm thinking there's something missing, and I needed more contrast, and I needed sort of a direction for the eye to go. So what I did is I turned to word strips because I didn't want to use more icons. All the icons were going to be started competing with each other. So here I am looking for word strips that I can use. My criteria were, the sayings I wanted, and not to have either like two of the same color and one that's off, or all of them the same color, and that they don't compete with the elements there. So see, with that banner, there's a lot of blue, and then I had a little blue puffy sticker, so I didn't want to do a blue word strip, right? So those were the kinds of things that go into my head as I'm picking which ones. I wanted to stagger them, and I also wanted them in different lengths. So here you see I've got 3. They say imagine, I believe in fairies, and just being adorable. And then above, I forgot to mention, I had chosen a different sparkle because the other one was so big. And I'm looking at it, and up there it looks wrong. Everything looks wrong. So the first thing that I noticed is that I had puffy stickers right next to the title, and then I had a puffy sticker in the title. So I switched that out. I off camera cut out an ampersand, and I used it in between instead of the diamond. Moved the diamond down. I like that a lot better because if you notice, my 3 clusters have each a random item. So the chipboard piece and puffy stickers, there's a random item, and then each one has a star and a heart. So that's where I'm creating those visual clusters with some continuity. That's why I took that diamond off the title, because it was going to compete with the ones right next to it in that cluster. And then here now I was realizing with the word strips on the bottom, there's nothing to continue your eye up. It was very heavy on the bottom. I turned to word strips again. I wanted the continuity of it to bring your eye up and down, and also to get some symmetry in there, because the clusters bring your eye around the whole page, but there's no real symmetry to them. And within the actual cut file, it could be a jumbled mess unless you bring the eye around. So I brought word strips up above. I moved the other puffy elements up above the fairy so that it was sort of more in the diagonal. And then I decided the title was getting lost. Brought back the sparkle die cut, which was much bigger. I don't know if I would have preferred to have shine in the same size I think not, because I don't think it would have fit very well up there. It's getting busy with that whole arc of the these the word strips and the title. And I did have one element of my cluster there above, it's kind of separating the word strips and the title. So hopefully that all makes sense. There was a reason to my madness, even though it took me a while to get there. Now, I took a piece of the negative part of the cut file just to practice what I wanted to say. I kind of choked up and thought, okay, what do I want to say? I wanted to keep it short and sweet, just along the sweep of the bottom, because I'm going to go back and do sort of project lifestyle documenting for those early years that I don't have that for. This is one photo of like several in a series from, when she was playing around on the bed. And so when I go back to document it, I'll probably say more. But here all I said was, this is one of your first favorite dress-up outfits. You're my sweet little fairy child. And then I date it. So, it's short and sweet, a little bit of an emotional thing there, and mostly just, who, what, when, where, why kind of documentation, I guess. Practiced the stamping of the date, and I decided that you see me stamp off first so it's not as dark. I could have just gone with one of my grays. I have tons of gray stamp pads, but I was too lazy, so I just stamped off once and then stamped the date. And then you can see here, I put back my chipboard banner and it covers up the date. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? Okay, so after struggling back and forth with this layout, I had to take part of it off again. So I'll cut away and you'll see. Come back and I'm finally done. I'm doing the final, what I call the final pat down. You got your little clusters. I feel like there's balance. There's directions for your eye to go. Here are some real-time close-ups. And then here is the final layout. I am really pleased with the results. And, it reflects me. It's more girly than I would have otherwise done, but it totally reflects the photo and my little girl. So I actually had fun playing with this collection. Thank you so much. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this and that you enjoyed seeing my process. I hope you guys are all having a great summer. See you next time.